Hello, everybody, and welcome to our newest chapter of Malden Rotary in the Community. I'm your host, past President Mark Golub. I'm happy to see that we are well attended on the TV screens today. Malden Rotary has a wonderful and distinctive history of partnering with local organizations who do good in the community and want to help others who are in need of their services. And today we have two wonderful ladies who kind of run Bread of Life from the standpoint of the things that they do to reach out into the community. The lady on my immediate left is Gabriella Stelmack, who's the executive director of Bread of Life, which is a community we are discussing today. And her development director, Patty Kelly, is the lady to my far left. And ladies, very happy to have you with us today. Hello, good. So we'll get right into the questioning. Gabriella, would you briefly tell our viewing audience the history of Bread of Life and what your role is as the executive director?
Thank you. Yeah, it's an interesting history. So Bread of Life is, right now, today, the premier program in Malden and surrounding cities that provides food for people who are in need, for struggling neighbors. We serve Malden and 9 surrounding communities, including Melrose, where you live, Everett, Medford, Stoneham, Saugus, Reading, Wakefield, Winchester. Majority of people we serve through our food pantry are Malden residents. And we end up serving and providing about 1 million meal equivalents per year as prepared meals and mainly as groceries.
Yeah.
And all that started, that's a pretty huge number, and about 1.5 million pounds of food that we distribute. It all started here in Malden, just around the corner from the studio, and people may have heard the story, but a local church, St. Paul's Parish, right around the corner, in 1980 was having a church potluck dinner, and just for the families of the church to have a dinner together, then church school, then worship. And 2 homeless men walked in and wanted to eat. And the women of the parish decided that God had brought those men to them and that they needed to respond and change the plan. We always have to be flexible, right? We really can't. We try to make our 3-year plans, our 5-year plans, and then life intervenes and other things happen. We still have to be flexible at Bread of Life to the minute. Being ready, being agile and adaptive. And so the women changed the plan. They formed a group called Cooks for Christ, and they said, we'll prepare a meal for anyone. And that was the beginning. Then other groups started joining in, wanting to do a night. We now have 35 partner groups, including the Melrose Rotary Club that helps to provide an evening meal. And groups can do one a month or one every other month or share a night. Mass Senior Action Council, the American Muslim Center in Everett. There's many, many partners we have. And then along the way, somewhere in the early 90s, we got a big donation of food. I think it was from the Malden Catholic, of a food drive. And that was the beginning in the basement of St. Paul's of our pantry, which now provides something like 600,000 meal equivalents a year. And all told, the Bread of Life serves about 8,000 people a year through all our programs.
That's amazing. There's only been 2 executive directors throughout the whole history of Bread of Life. The other, of course, was Thomas Fagley.
Yeah.
And he's still around, which is nice to hear. And Patty, you recently came on board as the Director of Development for Bread of Life. And so what do you do to fulfill your important agenda?
Well, any day, it's something different every day, but primarily our focus right now is our capital campaign that we're working on, which we will discuss more in the show, to build a new building. So it's fundraising, it's raising awareness of the profile of Bread of Life in the community, event planning, volunteer outreach to some extent, newsletters, the website, social media. We have a big social media presence with Twitter and Facebook and now Instagram. So it's a lot of hats, but primarily it's fundraising and raising awareness of the Bread of Life out in the community, which has been since February, very, very fun to do.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Yes.
I think you were made for this job.
Thank you.
And
We're happy to, everybody was congratulating me. Congratulations on Bread of Life getting Patty Kelly. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Smart move on
Yes,
your part.
right.
Gabriella, what's going on at Bread of Life in terms of new fundraising programs, and what is meant by the term under one roof?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mark, and I'll just say full disclosure for our audience that you are on our capital campaign committee and have been for years as a member of our
The
board
jig
of
is up. Sorry about
our
that.
board of, yeah, full transparency. No, thank you for being a big booster for Bread of Life, because I know hunger is very dear to your heart. We know, unfortunately, that hunger is with us, food insecurity. You know, how do we have people that don't have enough groceries? But that's what that is. It's not having a sufficient amount of nutritious food regularly available every day. So people in the family do not have enough to eat. And those are the families that are coming to us. We have, you know, obviously parents with children that are in that situation. We have single people, we have disabled people, we have retired senior citizens, we have homeless people. So we need to stabilize our programs for the future. And you know, Bread of Life and our board and Tom, our previous executive director, and myself had the vision of we need to build a central site in Malden that will be for the future generations. Because the city of Boston, the metropolitan area, is one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country. It's in the top 10 there, the last figures I saw. So even people who are working, and there's working people, and it can be hard to believe, but there's some working people who come to our evening meal who are homeless. They're working and they're homeless, let alone the people who are, you know, have housing but do not have enough income to really cover all their expenses. The cost of the housing, we know average rates in Malden now have risen to $2,000 a month plus for rental housing as average. So it's really, the people that we see are hard pressed financially. And that's where we come in. We're one of the biggest shoppers of the Greater Boston Food Bank. We bring back almost 700,000 pounds of food a year from the food bank alone. And we need to make a place where we'll be able to have this kind of sharing, because that's what it is. We bring in the food, we're able to distribute it to people in need, and we want to make a community center where people will be able to come in, study English, volunteer, do community meetings, classes on nutrition or financial management. And our facility will be built right where we are now. We bought a building at 54 Eastern, so it's near the Main Street end of Eastern Ave, sort of behind the Dockside Restaurant, which a lot of people know, and near Cataldo Ambulance. Maybe those are a few landmarks. And we will demolish that building right on the bike path, which is where most of our patrons come in currently for the pantry. And we'll build our facility, a brand new dining hall, a multi-purpose hall, kitchen, walk-in freezer, cool and refrigerators, things we don't have. We don't have any of that. And then and our pantry, of course, and food storage. All these years we've had to either get donated or, in more recent years, lease various kitchens. And in the past year we lost two. We lost the Salvation Army kitchen when it got flooded at the holidays. And we lost the American Legion when the building was sold. And we lost other buildings before then, and we've ended up serving meals out of our van, out of a parking lot. It's just very hard for us, and especially for the people we serve. So this project, under one roof, brings all our programs, the meals and the pantry and the other services, under one roof in one building, finally. The other really significant portion about the building is we're partnering with Metro North Housing Corp., which currently owns 2 buildings in Malden that are housing for low-income people on Charles Street and Washington Street. And Metro North Housing Corp. Will own and operate the 2nd and 3rd floors of our proposed building, the one we are going to construct. And that will be permanent housing for formerly homeless and veterans, which is desperately needed housing. People will be able to live there for the rest of their lives. It's not temporary, it's permanent housing, and especially targeting those populations. So we know veterans are in a lot of people's hearts, and again, it's a high priority.
Thank you. Patty, what is your functioning in terms of the under one roof concept as development director?
So my hope is it's doing things exactly as we're doing now. You were gracious enough to invite us here on your show. Any time that we can get in front of folks to talk about the campaign, Gabriella so eloquently chats about what's happening, getting in front of groups such as the Rotary, faith communities, schools, businesses. If anybody that's listening or watching knows somebody that we could present in front of, I think once people know what's happening, I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to contribute to what's happening in Malden. And to speak to your point too, Gabby, you had mentioned, yes, we are a resource for food, but it's also about the gathering people together. And Bread of Life always says we have food for the body, nurture for the soul.
Yeah.
And with all of this coming together, that's what's going to happen even on a grander scale. So to answer your question, it's my primary role is being out in the community and getting us in front of people. From here, we'll be going to see somebody after the show and talk about the campaign and ask people if we can connect and chat and get together. That's my primary role.
Well, so you're
Yeah.
both very busy people. We're going to take our break now, ladies. There'll be a few public service announcements and some information about Bread of Life, and we'll be back with Gabriella and Patty in just a moment.
Chill out. Don't tell me to chill out when you're stealing my things.
You're causing a scene.
I wouldn't have to raise my voice if you just give it back and stop being like a criminal.
I don't have your cell phone.
Oh
I don't
God,
have
look
your
at
cell phone.
yourself. What are you offering?
Is this a thief's uniform?
Oh my
You see all these people standing around here?
Oh,
Why am I the one? Why
I'm
are you
sorry,
singling me out
homie.
right now?
Okay.
What?
Don't make this a big deal. Just give it back, okay?
Did you see me? Did
Yeah,
you see
you
me?
know, I just know you took it.
Where are
Look
your
at yourself.
witnesses?
Look at
Where are your
yourself.
witnesses?
What?
Did you see me? Did you see me?
Hey, you left this in the bathroom.
Hello again. We're back with Gabriella Stelmack, Executive Director of Bread of Life, and Patricia Kelly, who is the program developer or development director, as you will. We want to talk a little bit about the building that you envision with respect to the changes that will be made. I believe there'll be some pictures coming online that will help in that description.
There's a lot of significant and great aspects of this building. First of all, we serve very low-income people, most of whom do not have vehicles. So we're centrally placed, and yet we're not out visible. We're tucked in behind in this spot that runs between Eastern Ave and the bike path. And people are able to access through the bike path. They already do. So that's a wonderful thing, and come in through public transportation. So it makes it accessible, because a lot of low-income people do not have cars. They're not even able to get to less expensive supermarkets. Sometimes they get stuck buying food at the local convenience store. Very expensive, not nutritious. And we're all about nutritious and adequate food. And half of what we buy at the food bank is produce. So the new facility, for one thing, we've never had good commercial kitchens. We've used old facilities, with the monies are not available to repair a lot of these things. We've used kitchens even currently where ovens had to be shut off because they cannot be repaired and they're hazardous. So many things where it would be a huge amount of money to bring a kitchen up to code. So here we would have commercial grade, state-of-the-art kitchen, the dining hall, multi-purpose hall. That is a huge thing right there. We will also have a pantry where people will be able to see and choose nutritious options. That's a big thing in fighting obesity, diabetes, other nutrition-related diseases, that people are able to see the products. And what we're even purchasing now, and have a grant out to buy display cabinets, the way refrigerators, the way you have in a supermarket. We just started something with SNAP Ed, SNAP, that's AKA food stamps, education about cooking demonstrations. We're going to have our first one later this month for patrons of our pantry. How do you cook a turnip, or what do you do with lentils, and start doing this kind of thing. One exciting thing is, because we're going to be at we are at the bike path, we're able to really beautify and green that entrance, which right now is because it was the railroad tracks, it's a chain link fence. It looks very ugly. We will have beautiful fencing, we'll have greening, we'll have some cafe seating. And a longer term goal is to do a training program where we could start small, partner with an organization, and be able to train some of the people who come in to use our services in food service and in business operation of food service, and have some servicing to people who are patrons of the bike path. Maybe do some bakery products, some cafe drinks, some smoothies, I was kale smoothies, kale and blueberry smoothies, right? We'll do these healthy, getting around. But the idea would be also helping people to move beyond. And now we're going to have control of this kitchen and be able to do things like that. We'll also be providing services for the tenants, the 14 people who will be living in the housing, that they can access our pantry, our meals, and become involved as volunteers and take advantage of any of the classes and activities.
Terrific. And Patty, what will be your role in all of this as the vision grows and gets hopefully taken?
As the building, you can tell, is going to be fabulous, but with that comes the need for funding for that. So we are looking for folks to donate, companies to sponsor. Gabby, you had mentioned the green space out back and out front. We have naming opportunities for folks that want to donate. So if there's somebody that you would like to give a tribute gift in honor of someone, or if a company would like to sponsor a room in the building or the outside green path, those are things that we'll be looking for to move this forward with fundraising.
I don't want to go into the specifics, but do you have ideas as to how much a family or an individual would have to donate in order to get their family's name or their loved one's name on each section of the building?
Yep. Overall, the campaign, we're hoping to reach $2.9 million. Right now, we're halfway there. And as
Wonderful.
far as, we'll take all donations, of course, but as far as the naming opportunities, we can check in and chat about what resonates with the family and work with them for naming opportunities, for sure.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm going to ask this question. just as a look-see in the future, how do you perceive the future place of Bread of Life in our community? You've been in existence only since the early 1980s, I believe. It's going to be an entirely different kind of visibility, I would think.
Yes. The word has been used, and I guess it's more common in the commercial world, about branding. I mean, we've always been, scattered site. And I think it's going to help us to have one identifiable site that's a central location with, visibility that this is the Bread of Life location, and to have this the multi-purpose hall that community groups will be able to come in, whether it's the SNAP Ed or our English classes or, yoga or whatever. We've had a lot of things that people have talked about, are working more with bicycling events. So I think having control over the site means that now, not just are we renting a facility for this night and this night, now we have use and control of a facility 24/7. And I think that gives us a lot of potential. So I think what we're going to be is evolving. We started spontaneously with this meal program, then spontaneously with the food pantry. Then we started doing grocery delivery. And I think now we could really look at our asset and say, okay,
True.
where can we go with this? What's the possibilities? And we have a lot of potential. So I think we'll grow with the community, with the changes, and see where we can best work with the community and fill needs and help people achieve their goals.
Yes, I'm sure. Patty, you will be involved, of course, as program director. I keep saying program director, development director. Will your role change as the building gets satisfaction for its changes
I
and the money
anticipate
coming
that.
in?
Yes.
How would you perceive that?
Well, at that point, we'll be sustaining what we have, and there'll always be a need for fundraising at that point, and event planning, and keeping the profile high in the community. And to speak to what you just spoke about as far as the community asset, that's what I feel I'm most excited about. For so long, we've relied on folks to help us get to where we are. Now with having one site, we can give back in a sense to the community. The resource room is going to be really beneficial for the whole community at large, for the training classes, and it's a way for Bread of Life to give back to people that have been helping us for so long too.
Yes.
So we'll be having lots of planning going on, and I look forward to doing that once the building is done.
Let me add thank you to that question. How difficult is fundraising?
It's hard. It's not easy. I mean, there are a lot of good agencies looking for fundraising for various reasons, and I think that our mission definitely resonates with people. And we always say, how can people in our neighborhoods be hungry and eating? It just really resonates with people. So the mission itself is easy to listen and appreciate, but the fundraising piece is difficult. We won't lie about that.
No, certainly not. Ladies, how can our viewing public, which covers the city, Malden, part of Melrose, and part of Everett, I believe, how can they participate in all of this?
We were chatting earlier about ways to help. One idea that we really think would be great is if someone would like to host a house party on behalf of Bread of Life, and as a fundraiser, invite your friends over. We can speak to what our mission and what we're working on is in the comfort of your home. Invite your friends and neighbors over, and obviously donating otherwise. You can go on our website. We have a donate button on our website, www.breadoflifemalden.org. You can donate that way. And if you'd like to come in and visit with us and have a one-on-one discussion, see the current facility as it stands now, we like to think of that as the before picture. Please come in, give us a call. We'd love to host you at the Bread of Life.
I know our friend Rick Blaine, who is our advisor, had what he calls a closed period and then the open period. Where do we stand now?
We're in the public phase.
The
We
open
we had the
period.
launch last spring, actually, just a little over a year ago. I think it just was a year ago, up at the Four Points Sheraton. I believe
Yes,
you
I
were
was
there. We
there.
had a wonderful event, and a lot of our, I have to say, a lot of our delegation, Senator Jason Lewis, our leader Paul Donato, Steve Altrino, Paul Broder, have all come on board. Rep Don Wong from Saugus. So we've reached out to those leaders also in the business community, and we launched a public campaign. So with the website, with the ad that a lot of people saw on Comcast, we had a video done that our local guy Paul Hammersley did a fantastic job on. So yes, we're full-fledged. We're doing, I think we had a 18,000 person email blast that went out a few times to the North Shore Chamber. At this point, we're spreading the word to everyone.
Great.
And trying to get everything in all the media. That's why we're bumping up the media and asking people to think what they could do. A local church, one of our partners, Good Shepherd Reading, just made a $10,000 pledge in honor of a longtime parishioner who was a Bread of Life volunteer who just passed away. Ben Sands, they made it in his name. Other churches have done, or groups, fundraisers for us. One group did a GoFundMe site. If we can multiply that effort and have a person say, well, maybe I could raise this figure, 1,000 or whatever, through my network of 100 friends, or maybe if we spread that out, because we've always been grassroots. Why can't we be that way with the fundraising? In addition to the fact that, of course, we're going towards people who do have greater capacity and who could give much larger gifts. We're doing that, but also people working together can make a big impact.
Yeah, I understand.
Another great way to honor someone too, or tribute gift, we have Mother's Day, for example, is coming up. If you'd like to honor somebody in your life, a loved one, consider a tribute gift in their name to the Bread of Life.
Well,
Yes.
all these opportunities. I'll give you final crack, Gabriella. We have a moment or so left. Would you like to offer some words to our viewing audience before we close the program?
Well, I guess I'm always so thankful. I'm just thankful for the community support at every level, for the elected officials, for the businesses, and the volunteers who always get to my heart because they want to help. Bread of Life really is neighbor helping neighbor, and people realize it could be them, their mother, their brother, their sister, their child in need and come on tough times, sick, unemployed, and people reach out from the heart. And that's what makes it all worthwhile, is seeing that kind of compassion and commitment, action. People not only know what needs to be done, but they have their boots on the ground, their hands and words and feet of the Lord, and doing the work that needs to be done. And
Sounds like the final words of a sermon. Well, it's a
Amen.
very happy. I'll say amen
I'll
to
preach
that.
amen.
But it's quite, excuse me, it's quite obvious your passion, both of you, for the work that we do for those less fortunate than we are, who can't feed their family, people who can't feed their families, and people who have no place to live. You still have the motel ministry.
Yes, we're still delivering to the
and
homeless
all of
families.
that, and
Yes,
it's
yes,
very important.
yes.
And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, very busy day to join us here at MATV.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mark. We
Mark.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you.